Hi, good morning. I'm not hearing anything online. Is there audio? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, apologies.
Oh, it might have come unplugged.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, so the, yeah.
He's here, it was just muted.
No, this one's not working.
Oh.
Let's talk loud. And then, the other big priority we have is already, is to finish up, the business, registration ordinance so that it matches our business registration resolution. Once we get that done, we can pass the whole thing on, we can present the whole ordinance 963, right, and 907, and the zoning changes all at once to, the council to approve as a package so they can see what's been changed and what hasn't. So that would be probably our number one priority because it's on our agenda for today to get that finished up.
Yep.
And then, also future agenda item is, it is our 5-year review of the, resort tax ordinance. And the resort tax committee has been working on that. So then that will go probably through admin and finance.
Okay.
First and then to council. So might even, it'll maybe be the last meeting in February because I think we'll be done with it at the next February meeting, at the next resort tax February meeting.
Okay.
So we'll put that on for end of February. Melanie, do you have any huge items that we should be concerned about?
Not really so. Our audit is at the end of February, so,
Okay,
sometime in March you'll have a draft
okay.
one.
And we should be good with the business registration fees, correct? We shouldn't have to review those again this year, we should,
No, I think those are all
okay.
good in the categories and everything. Should
Okay, so give them a year to play out and see how we're doing with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
One thing I will raise for an awareness to your standpoint, so the software that we're using on vacation
Okay.
rental, there is a concern from staff that since its acquisition, it transferred who owns it. They have not been keeping up with the scraping battle, so there's a chicken egg conversation that goes, they try to make it so you can't do it, and then the companies come in and make it so they can do it. And they're looking at swapping to a different company. There's a demo coming up, but by the nature of the beast, there will be some overlap of the two programs to do that, and there's a conversation going on about how to coordinate it so that people enter it like once. And so it's, our subscription is for a year, but it'll probably make more sense to do it in conjunction with business registrations. So there's probably gonna be like a 6-month overlap where we actually are paying for 2 programs in that.
and they won't give us our money back. We cancel.
We could ask nicely.
Which technically, we paid it in, December. That one covers until next December,
Right,
so we wouldn't have to repay that one in next year's budget. The upcoming, the newer one, we would have to pay in July. So I think budget-wise, it hits okay.
Right.
Because of the, but of the timing.
it's just that it's $13,000,
And
and
if
6
it,
months would be a nice.
Yeah, and like I said, I highly doubt that they will refund us anything,
Probably
but
not.
budgetary-wise, it should be okay. We won't have to pay double
Yeah,
in the same year.
well, there'd be
From
like
my-
a whole onboarding period too, probably,
Yeah.
and transferring that data over, and,
Yeah.
and that's my concern is if they can give it to us like for a month free in June, so we can do that, and then we can include them in the July budget, that's okay, but as we started looking at it, it's kind of like, oh, there's gonna be an overlap by definition.
what's the price difference?
It's actually the same price, and it actually has some additional functionality that I can't remember what it is right now, but there was as far as the ability to kind of export or put stuff into, there was something that was gonna help staff from a resort tax or compliance issue, if I recall correctly, so.
That would be good. And then, yeah, I'm kind of off topic. I know that, we got rid of text.my.gov. Are we utilizing the other?
We haven't yet, we kind of,
I thought it went out Saturday. Didn't some stuff go out? You said there was some emails or something that went out?
Google Groups. We're
Yeah,
not-
Google
we're
Groups
not-
and Facebook.
Text.my.gov is not on our website anymore, we're not
Yeah.
utilizing it since we sent the letter of, yeah, we're not
And-
using this anymore.
And again, just from an awareness standpoint, the, CEO of that company, continues to harass, and our attorney is dealing with it, and so, because we canceled it, but he's upset that we canceled it. We canceled it within the guidelines and the rules, and
Yeah, I just,
so,
will we have a replacement for that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be through our website, so
Okay.
we just haven't had time to go in, to get
Okay.
that up and going and stuff.
We do have a meeting with them next. No, actually, it's February 10th.
Okay.
So we do have a meeting with them, because there may also be some other changes to the website. There was some things that broke that we're gonna get
Oh,
fixed.
yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Any, how about, Doug, anything that you think we need to have as priorities on for?
No, I think that software is definitely top of the list priority.
Yeah.
And that, if we cannot get any, refund back, as Dave said, ask nicely, but if they turn it down, they turn it down.
Yeah,
And hopefully we got our money's worth out of it.
we did.
That's what I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it was beneficial, so we have to just take that and go forward.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what's the new software you guys are looking at?
I have no idea. Danae is the one doing that.
Yeah. You hit resort tax a little bit. Do you want to talk about, the ordinance, or
I
getting
can,
us off of our monthly appeals meetings?
yeah, so, well, it's our 5-year review. We're required by statute to review the, ordinance every 5 years. That's what the resort tax originally was formed for, and that's what they're doing right now. Some of the things that, we wanted them to touch on too was allowing, do we want in the ordinance to allow the mayor to waive, have the ability to waive that fee on a one-time basis type of thing, and what guidelines do we want to put in there? And all of this will have to go through council regardless, but it's in the resort tax committee's hands right now. And they're okay with that, having a first offense, what constitutes where the mayor would have that authority. Sure. You can't just, anybody you ask, but if it's a first-time offense, or like the cases where it's, they owe $5, and now they get a $250 fee, that type of thing, so, and we're also, I do want to see, in the ordinance that it's written when those notices go out for the, once it's 30 days and they have a $250 fee, you
Right.
send them an invoice and say, you have to pay,
Right.
here's your bill for $250, pay now, or 30 days, you're gonna get $750.
And will we make sure to include calendar in that to eliminate that?
Calendar,
Yeah,
yes,
Just come up.
yeah. 100 days, yes.
And then the 60 needs to make sure that it references from when. Is that 60 from the 30-day notice, or is that 60 from the,
The day they're late.
one of the things for council to be aware of is anytime there is going to be an action based on a, notice. So if we're gonna send them 250, and we're gonna charge them 250, and then say you're getting 60, is that gonna be something that we're doing a registered notice of, which means we're probably doing 30 if we do it after the 30 days? We're probably sending out 30 of them that we're spending $10 a piece to do. And I know in our last appeals special meeting that we had, there was a conversation that 250 is paying for staff time and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yes and no. we are taking in as much as we are expending, but we're taking it into the resort tax that cannot actually be used for administration
The
of.
penalties and fees, I believe, can be used for, because it's not resort tax, it's an,
It does, they go into resort
They
tax.
go into resort tax.
So
because-
penalties and fees do go
Do we
into
change
resort
that?
tax. Pardon?
do we have the ability to specify that in the ordinance?
Do you know if it's in the ordinance? I think that'd be a good question for
Yeah.
council to look into, if we can change it in the ordinance,
Because it needs to
or
be
if
done
it would
for
have to
resort
go to
tax.
the voters.
Yeah, that's time, I mean, yeah.
No, I agree, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's written like that. It's,
Yeah.
it's dealing with resort tax, it goes back into. Because it's not considered a fine through the courts, because that goes through the general fund and stuff. Because it's-
Yeah,
it-
and that was my question too, with is that should this be a fine that goes to the court? You know, that it's a municipal fine, so we're fining them for not paying resort tax, in my mind.
Mhm.
And I would like it written like that, you know, so that, you know, here's your fine, you can go before the judge, and he can decide if you have to pay it or not, type of thing. But then you have court time and stuff too, but you have a fine.
And if you guys can, if it can be written so it doesn't have to go to, that the appeals isn't to, I mean, that's basically because that's how it's written, and my understanding is that's currently written in the ordinance, but certainly you
Well,
could do some
it was,
research and get legal
it was
input.
written in the ordinance because all we had in there before was interest and like a $50 fine.
No,
And
but
there
what
was
I'm
no
saying
appeal for it,
is, let me restate.
so, I'm sorry.
If it's in the ordinance, council can change it.
Right.
If it's based in the ballot language, voters have to change
I
it.
don't think it was in the ballot language. I don't remember anything about fines and penalties being, but I mean, it's on the website, the ballot language is. So I'm very confused by that. We can look it up, I guess, real quick.
Well, no, I'm just saying, just make a note of it and put that on the agenda for that conversation
Okay. Yeah.
into general for staff time. I
Okay.
think the ordinance can be done, but our attorney would be able to better direct on that.
Yeah. We'll have that on next agenda, because we don't really have it on here.
But just in the priorities.
In the priorities,
conversation.
yeah, definitely, okay. Chelsea? Okay.
At the moment, I think we have a good long list of things to work on.
I know. So tonight we have, the resolution of intent to accept the C-PACE program, that's up for action tonight. Any questions or comments on that? I mean, it's been brought, we have the authorizing the spending of the additional funds. I thought we had, didn't we have two? Oh, is that both of them?
So that's, no, that you're thinking probably down in the council discussion on Eagles Nest. So we don't have,
No, I thought we had two different resolutions or something like that we had to have for the C-PACE program, or am I
one of them
thinking-
is now, then there has to be public hearings, and then one of them is
Oh,
at the end of those
okay.
public hearings. So there's a resolution of intent and then a resolution to adopt or to make
So we will have the resolution to adopt if this passes then tonight.
at some future point after the
So
hearing.
that will be on our future agenda items then. Okay. I know Chris isn't here, and she was the guru on this, but
Mhm.
I can just introduce this tonight, I guess. And if I mean, it's been brought up like 3 times, so
Yeah.
if there's any, hopefully it's not. Okay, and, authorizing resolution number 3677, authorizing spending of additional funds for flood mitigation, that's the action tonight. And that was discussed at last time's meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will add, so when I initially submitted the request for the ordinance, it was, to specifically authorize the mayor to sign it. There was no, I'm sorry, I'm crossed, there was 2 of them, so he thought that authorizing the mayor to continue to work kind of addressed it, and I wanted a specific signature, which was number 3 in that ordinance. Council authorizes mayor to sign the January 9th, amendment request. And then he went a great deal of the letter. If council feels that number 3 is not necessary, it can be struck, but my preference was that it was there.
Who wants to present that tonight? Do you want, Dave, do you just want to talk about it? Or do you want us to?
Well, we'll need a motion and then we can have discussion on it.
Yeah, but usually we kind of, but we already discussed it last.
Yeah, but we still,
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Robert's
you,
rule, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to speak to it.
okay, that's what I mean, just
Okay,
to
yeah.
explain what's there.
Yep.
So that, and
Who's gonna make the motion?
I can make the motion,
Okay, and then when I say discussion, you just,
Yep.
pass it off to
Oh,
you
on me,
instead
yeah.
of to one of us on our committee.
Yeah.
okay.
Reimbursement resolution for proposed water system improvements, discussion tonight. This was new, right? We haven't discussed this before.
No.
So, the reimbursement resolution for proposed water system improvements.
So that's with, that came from Dorsey and Whitney, our new water project, the 16-inch bypass, for the water project, and
Okay.
then, the other water project for the rehab. And Dave has talked about this, well, you guys have all talked about these. So this is just just something to have in place for the bonds.
Okay.
I don't know really explain it, but it just has to do with the bonds and bond council and,
So whenever, it's basically, when we sign a bond, we're obligating the city, so anything
Right.
that's spending money comes to council. Do we have, that's not on for tonight, other
That's for
than
discussion.
an awareness? Why am I not finding, it is there, okay. So basically, there is going to be coming, a note that we're signing to do those water projects, and council has to sign off on it.
and I'll have, Courtney with, Dorsey and Whitney, kind of send me an email, just kind of give a synopsis
That would be
of
great.
what it is,
Yeah.
because she explained it, and it just, all I know is it has to do with the bonds and stuff, and it's just something that's good to have in place.
It's a requirement of the bonds?
I don't believe it's a requirement, but it's something that is, we've never done, I don't think, one before, but they had brought it up in our last, conference call we had for these projects. And,
Yeah, if you could provide a little synopsis, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
This isn't our, like we do before we sign off on every bond.
this is something new. We've never done a reimbursement one like that.
Oh, is this one we're doing, what's different about this one is that there's a bunch of money that we have spent, tell me if I'm right, is this one because we've spent the money already and they're making it so we can take it from our, 'cause that was,
I'm not quite sure, I know they tried to explain it, but I was kind of lost in that conversation.
there was, so a lot of these bonds and projects and stuff, generally, they pay for stuff from that date on. There's some stuff that the city has paid for that we should have paid for from our impact fees that we didn't. Is that this one?
So this one says the resolution relating to the finance of proposed water system improvements establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. So I think this resolution just says we will comply.
I will get just some more
Before
clarification.
tonight, and check with my, because I think it's the one that's letting us use our impact fees for stuff we've already spent
And
on.
that could
So we
be,
spend money from impact fees, and we'll be able to reimburse those
We-
impact fees from.
no, we have.
No, we spend it from general,
Oh.
we should have done it from impact fees, and this makes it so we're doing it.
So now we'll be taking the money from impact fees to reimburse the general fund.
No. No.
That is out there, I'm not sure that this is it.
It's not reimbursing the general fund. These are the water and sewer funds.
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
comes out of
Yeah.
general funds.
Okay, so,
For
but
bonds,
going from
projects.
impact rather to reimburse the fund that we took it out of, which,
Before this
whether it
gets all
was water.
confusing, I will get the synopsis.
Perfect.
from
Yeah,
Dorsey
that
and
sounds
Whitney regarding that. So we're not
Yeah.
throwing out stuff saying, well, it's for this, it's for
Agree.
this,
And so-
because we're not quite,
But,
It says the
but-
city reasonably expects to reimburse some or all of the expenditures made for costs of the projects out of the proceeds of debt in the estimated maximum aggregate principal amount of $5 million. Provided, however, the city anticipates that its obligation to repay approximately one-half of the principal amount of the bonds will be forgiven by the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. If various transitional provision contained, and then it lists a bunch of sections. No expenditures for the projects have therefore been paid by the city, and no expenditures will be paid by the city until after the date of this resolution. So we're authorizing the city to,
Spend money from the bond.
yeah,
Quick synopsis.
and to, to follow the designations and regulations
Alan, can you hear us now?
Nope, we don't have seasonal housing information.
And we may have lost him because again, Alan?
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Just out of curiosity, about how long ago did it go? It looks like the phone disconnected. How long ago was that?
Yeah, it was about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
The chair just asked, she had seen you there and asked if you wanted to, anyway, yeah. If you
Public
had-
comment, Alan, do you want to talk about anything? I know you do.
I definitely, whenever the time is appropriate, I don't know if it's, at the next meeting or whatever, I would love to talk to the Admin and Finance Committee about my ideas for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But whenever you guys want me to talk about it, I'd be happy to.
Okay, well, you can talk about it now under public comment if you want.
Sure. Let me give a very quick update in the style of the former 3-minute public talks I've been giving the last couple of city council meetings. Skip into my notes. Oh yeah, sure.
Sorry, I
Alan,
didn't mean to I just know.
address is 508 North Hauser. I know I've spoken to you guys a couple times about the idea of establishing a Red Lodge strategic Bitcoin reserve capable of accepting donations of digital assets. Updates since the last meeting, the city council meeting. Oklahoma, Wyoming, Massachusetts, Arizona, Utah, and Ohio have introduced their own SBR bills. Arizona passed, this is just yesterday, out of committee a bill to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So it's going to move to a floor vote in their Senate here soon. Here in Montana, Representative Zolnikov introduced State Bill 212, the Right to Compute Act. And nationally, the new White House administration created a task force to study a federal level SBR. It should be technically simple for us to create a digital asset donation bucket. Basically, just go to Coinbase.com, which is the leading consumer-facing digital asset platform, and open up a Coinbase Commerce account. If Admin and Finance supports this idea, and if City Council approved it, I would expect that the media would take notice and vastly amplify the message. We could put QR codes for receiving Bitcoin donations around town, saying, if you enjoyed Red Lodge, please make a donation to our strategic reserve fund. And people might do it just for novelty and taking selfies, and it could actually become a source of perpetual donations. So the way I think about it, if this were to happen, the worst case scenario would be that I contribute $400, no one else does, there's crickets, and then the next day the value goes to zero and there would be no monetary gain or loss for the city. A middle case scenario that I can envision would be that we might get $5,000 of donations, and in 10 years, maybe that's worth $10,000. And it's possible, given that, if we get the timing on the hype cycle just right, we could get something like $1 million of donations at the peak of the hype cycle. And in 10 years, it could be worth $20 million. I came up with that number by a 2x multiplier on gold's market cap. And I would love, most importantly, to answer any questions which you guys might have, either now or at future meetings or whatever. It's a new topic for sure, and I'm not sure if much of the public is familiar with what cryptocurrencies are, but I think this is an interesting time to consider a strategic reserve which would be capable of accepting donations and potentially being the first government of any level in the US to do so. And I think people would pay attention to that event because there's so many other governments at different levels which are considering it, and it's sort of a toss-up as to whether and the speed with which those might also happen. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, I'd love to try to take a shot at them.
Yeah, I think my only real question is, the legality of it, of doing that. I realize it wouldn't include, taxpayers' money, property taxes and stuff like that. I just don't know, is that something we'd have to run by the attorney or the auditors or?
Well, I think it would be an asset of the city, and we as a council would be responsible. So, Alan, I guess my question is, why would we want to do that? I mean, are we saying that we as a council, we as a city can spend that money whenever we want, however we want? I mean, I don't understand, I guess when you say strategic, what's strategic about it?
Cool. So, I think,
And
what was-
also, the other question is, this is like your third attempt to talk to us, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but what's in it for you? Why are you pushing this so hard?
Sure, probably the same reason I was pushing the, the solar panels and the public EV chargers and, the Arbor Day Foundation. Why am I doing this? Am I gaining anything from this personally, financially? No. I think these are what these things have in common is that they're avenues for, potential and real gain and benefit for the city of Red Lodge, put some more trees out there, replace some flood damage, save the city money every year on an ongoing basis. If we can generate our own solar electricity here, have some increased resilience for that microgrid project at the wastewater treatment plant. What these all have in common is that they lead to no direct gain for me, but it is sure satisfying to be able to do some legwork and come up with some ideas and work with you guys in city government to do something which is going to benefit the city and not just a one-time shot, but on an ongoing basis. Let's see. I want to just say this one more time, just to make sure I'm communicating myself. So this would not be advocating for spending city taxpayer funds to purchase Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies or digital assets more generally. This would simply be creating an electronic donation bucket, which potentially people around the world would see and say, oh, I want to send them some digital assets. And that's something which can be done just with a few mouse clicks and typing on a keyboard and hit enter, and then the assets would get transferred to our fund. As to what this could be used for, what I would propose is to have a 10-year minimum holding period. Why? Two reasons. Number one, that shows to the international potential cryptocurrency donors that we are serious about it, not a flash in the pan where they would send us the cryptocurrency, we would sell it and use the cash for whatever. No, the true believers are going to say, look, this should be something that we hold on to like on a federal level, we do it in Fort Knox, holding on to gold, as you could be seeing it as backing up the US dollar or just holding on to it for a rainy day. So that's the first thing. The 10-year holding period would be to prove that we're long-term thinkers and hopefully amplify the message of please donate to us. By comparison, Texas, their legislation has a minimum 5-year holding period. On a federal level, Senator Lummis of Wyoming, she has proposed a 20-year minimum holding period. Now, the one asterisk I would put onto what I would be proposing here of a 10-year holding period is that for purposes, I would throw this out there. For purposes of achieving the goal set forth in the 2023 Energy Conservation Plan update, which is basically reducing the city's greenhouse carbon footprint, assets could be held for only 5 years if they would be to be sold for pursuing those purposes. For example, putting more insulation on city buildings or putting out more solar panels to cut down on the city's energy use. And I would propose that only up to 50% of any donated digital assets could be sold early at the 5-year period for that purpose, which I also strongly believe in. And for everything else, it would be a 10-year minimum holding period from the date of donation. And we would put this in writing that, generally speaking, any funds donated to this fund could be used only for the city's benefit, which is a pretty broad thing. But if you put that terminology in there, then it makes it tax deductible to any potential donors under IRS Rule 170.C.1.
So one question, you mentioned the 10-year, that's 10 years for each donation, so somebody would have to keep track of when that donation was made, so we know when the clock starts?
Yeah, but that should be tracked automatically on a Coinbase Commerce account. So let's say date this asset entered your fund was, April 4th, 2025 or whatnot.
Dave, do you have a question?
I have two questions. My second question is gonna be to Lonnie, because if this is gonna be a city asset, looking at it from a budgetary standpoint, I'm sure there's gonna be an overhead that we're gonna have to figure out how to include this in our budget and carry it forward, everything. But before I get to that, I just wanna understand, and I apologize, I'm like several of the members of council have mentioned, my exposure to cryptocurrencies is somewhat of the fad nature of them and the general. So if you said you were gonna start by making a $400 donation, are you actually out $400 at the moment you make that donation?
Me
Are you
personally,
out like $400?
Yes.
yeah, I would go on Coinbase. I would buy $200 of Bitcoin and $200 of this other one called Ethereum, which has a different use case, and transfer it to the website address of Red Lodge's cryptocurrency
Okay,
account.
so the one account can hold all the different types of cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Does this include the little fad meme coins for Taylor Swift and Donald Trump and everything else? Are those all in that same category?
Yeah, whatever people would want to send us, and that Coinbase recognizes. Although I think they have like they list hundreds of different cryptocurrencies. So yeah, it should be essentially everything.
Okay, so then my question goes to Lonnie then. What staff time and maintaining this, what can of worms are we opening up? Or what do we need to look into to?
Well, it's a city asset. Any money that is donations, fees, whatever, is considered city asset. They have to be accounted for monthly. We have to do bank rec on it. It has to show any deposits coming into that account and where they're coming from. I don't know of any other small municipalities that do this, and
He's already told us there are no municipalities that do this
so
yet.
I'm kind of on the edge of why aren't other cities looking at this? If it's such a great thing, why aren't other smaller, and we're a small community. So I would just have, I don't know, like I said, any money that comes into the city is considered a city asset. So that, all that money has to be accounted for on our books.
So then my question, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, generally with those Coinbase accounts, you can just pull a statement that shows you these are your assets within that when those donations made, the same as any other bank statement.
Okay.
So
I don't know
But
anything
for
about
every
it,
month,
but-
for the next 10 years before we,
You
But-
take 15 minutes to pull a statement?
is there, I just want to know legally, is there restrictions on who a city can take donations from? Like, let's say you have a developer that comes in and they just make a $10,000 crypto donation to the city of Red Lodge,
or China,
or
or.
China, I mean, but that developer wants, the council or the city to give them these,
Correct.
these-
My,
Favors.
my
Yes.
other concern is the safety of it. If you're putting QR codes that go directly to a city account, I have concerns with that. Whether it's set up however, I still have concerns with the amount of hacking that goes on. It goes directly into our city account. So whether it would be a separate one, I get that.
Mhm.
But if this has not been, what's to say they can't hack into something else? That's all I'm saying. It just has not been around long enough. I don't think that the city should be the first ones to take on something
Yeah,
like this
it's
without seeing how it actually works in other communities, like big communities. Why wouldn't a bigger community want to do this?
I guess my question to this committee and the council at large, is there any appetite to prioritize this and spend the time working on this as opposed to the other things that you've got out there?
Personally, I think that, I don't want to turn it down just because I don't know enough about it. However, I do kind of tend to agree with Lonnie being the first. There's a lot of research that has to be done. I mean, and what rules are you gonna put in place? Can anyone donate to it? Or are you going to set limitations, like you're not gonna take foreign donations, or you're not gonna take, donations?
And every minute you spend researching that is
Yeah.
a minute you're not working on anything else on
Correct.
on the priorities
I
list.
guess
And
that's
that's
what
why
I'm
I say,
saying.
where do you wanna put this in your priorities
I
discussion?
think it, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, Alan, do you know of any nonprofits that may have been doing this that we could utilize for an example?
Yeah, actually, I do have some websites on that and some guidelines for nonprofits on accepting crypto donations. Council of Nonprofits.org and whatever this other one. Yeah, let me accept. Yes, I have information on that. Accepting crypto donations, 6 updates to your gift acceptance policy. This is published in 2022 in a journal called Free Will or something. Yeah, I can send you guys this.
Okay, that'd be super helpful. Again, I think that on a whole, I'm not nearly as intimidated by this. I think that this is something that is being utilized across the world. I think that it is something that there can be parameters that we can copy and paste, essentially from other organizations, that we can then just have a review from the auditor and a review from the attorney. I don't think it's gonna necessarily take 6 months to write this out. I think that it's an opportunity to try something new and, again, generate funds for the city in a unique avenue, because as Alan says, the folks that are into cryptocurrency are really into cryptocurrency and are looking for interesting avenues to basically embrace it and also to essentially validate it as a true currency. So,
Just have a question on this. How, don't people make money off of what they're doing with this Bitcoin? Why would what drives people to use it? Is it like a stock? Are you earning money off of where you put it?
yeah, it's basically like
So
any...
how is he not earning money off of the $400 that he?
Oh, no,
It'd be the
has
stuff
not.
that you have, like your personal asset of it, so the city would
That's
potentially...
why I was just.
Yeah,
But-
I
so
was
it
not
fluctuates
sure.
like any
Yeah,
other
like stocks,
currency,
they
like
go up and
pesos
down.
or
It could be
dollars.
worth $1,000 tomorrow, or it could be worth 0 tomorrow. And I don't think it's while I haven't invested in it, I wouldn't say I'm intimidated by it. I just look at it from a priority standpoint and say,
Yeah.
where do you, because like I said, if we have staff working on that, they're not working on other things. If we have council working on that, they're not working. So where do you want to put this in the priority?
Well, as far as admin and finance go, I mean, I think we've listed our top priorities that we need to look at, which is, the business registration ordinance, budget, and our budget as a whole, those 2 things. And then, I mean, I would like direction, I guess, before we put a lot of time into this from all of council, to say, do you want us to work on this, before they even, have a discussion then.
Set off
Yeah.
a little bit on the priorities.
And then we're done with time, so.
What about the fire district contract? Has that been discussed in public health? Are we moving to look at that again?
Yeah,
Because
will
that's something that needs.
we need to put that-
especially budget.
we need to put that on the priorities list.
And that should be well above this.
Do you want us to talk about it because it's a contract and it's, in admin and
It'll
it's our
come,
budget.
I think we need to go to public health and safety first, but just like we're doing the trash, we need to get fire in there.
Yep.
So
He's coming,
let's,
Tim Ryan is coming to public health and safety next time.
yeah,
So, I mean, have you had any conversations with?
I have not had, I will tell you that, the most recent conversations I've had with Tom is he's disinclined to change it from anything other than what it is, but we get to propose it out there.
When
so-
is that contract up again?
This year, so
Oh,
this is the year for negotiation of that contract.
Yeah, I definitely need, the mill base needs to go away. And I think we've said that over and over again as council.
Well,
It's just not sustainable.
or at the very least, if we do it a mill-based, it should match what they get if we were part of the district, which is what I have proposed to them,
Mhm.
that if there's an effective, because right now, what's happening is, it's going up and percentage of wise of our budget, it's going up significantly higher.
So we need to finish Alan's discussion here.
Well, we need to finish the meeting, we're 5 minutes
Yeah.
over time.
So Alan, to the list of priorities, as committee chair, I mean, we do have a lot of, big priorities through the first half of this year, specifically getting through the budget and to, I don't know, Chelsea, I'd like to, I'm not opposed to looking into this, but,
So I think, Alan, what we're kind of hearing from this room is, one, time. Time is always a very sensitive topic for the council, for the city. I do think that it's worth exploring, and I don't think the committee wants to do, or not the committee, but the council on a whole, just based off the discussions we've had at the table, that there's just not a lot of time to explore it. So I would personally request, if that article for the nonprofits and their standards, and then I think I might actually have a resource to just better understand how cryptocurrencies work. And I don't necessarily hate the idea of putting in a good 15 minutes to just, hey, this is what it's about, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something we do this month. It doesn't have to be
right,
something
that's
we
what
do
I'm saying.
this half of the year, but it might be a good fall project after we get through our budget season.
That's
So,
kind of what.
so add it to the priority list, but we're not bumping it, but we're
Yeah.
not bumping
That's
everything
what I'm
else
saying.
down to address
Correct,
it.
yeah, exactly.
And I guess that's what I was trying to say.
I don't want to necessarily see it go away, but I don't think we necessarily have the time to work on it at this moment.
Sure, that makes sense, yeah. Thanks for
Okay.
considering this. I think that the situation might be different in 6-8 months. This might be old stale news in terms of tapping the enthusiasm to be the first or one of the first governments in the US to do this. But things are the way they are, and so I appreciate you guys taking the time to consider this. One last thing, if I'm in 20 seconds, there's a lot of BS and sort of scamminess and fad, which will be gone tomorrow, around blockchain technology. But seeing the forest for the trees, I believe that, and I think many people do, that blockchain technology is for real. It's a real innovation. It's going to lead to a lot of solutions. And so please, I would say, when you're looking at cryptocurrencies, looking past the hype and the scamminess, there is real technological innovation there. Being able to have computers all around the world come up with and agree on what the current state of the digital ledger is. It's amazing. There's been lots of failures before the solutions were achieved in 2008.
Okay. All right, Rod, did you have anything?
One thing I'd say, Alan, if you want to move this forward, you're gonna have to do the legwork and the time.
Oh, I'm more than happy to. You can't tell. I'm pretty like
We've always been really good at that.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything here that people said you don't pursue it. I said it's on the priority list, but recognizing that staff and council may not have time to dedicate it to it. Yeah, exactly that.
Thank you.
Cool. Well,
Thanks,
I'd
Alan.
be happy to email stuff that I find and realize that, like, if you guys don't tell me, Alan, chill out, I'll probably be talking a lot, sending you emails.
Yeah.
Which you can just delete
Does
if you
that
want.
ever work?
Oh, I'm batting about 300. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
anybody have anything else? Thank you, Alan. Is there anybody else online?
Apologies for the technical difficulties.
No worries. Thanks for
All right.
sticking with it.
See you guys tonight, and I won't be doing some planning.
Okay.
So just do kind of the same thing, if you would.
Yep, no, I have that kind of on
Okay.
the radar.
Um,
Did you adjourn? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did. Sorry.
I intend